Throw it all away, everyone. It's Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic review series for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm your host, Evan, joined as always by my buddies Lauren, Bruce, and Sid, and today we're going to be going over the dark side story of Sonic Adventure 2. But first, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, I have cracked the code. Lauren and I, when playing these games, tend to have a pretty typical experience. Like, we don't always agree, but our judgments usually fall within pretty acceptable bounds of error. Sid has what I like to call the glitch passive, in which the code of any game he plays is rendered in the most ingratiating posture of surrender imaginable.
Oh yeah, it just turns to straight up sketty.
Not just Sonic games, you are excellent at breaking every piece of software you touch.
Oh yeah, everything turns to sketty.
Bruce has a fucking monkey's paw, where things that piss the rest of us off like crazy can suddenly become intangible barriers that they walks right through. And things that feel trivial to us can become harrowing or stressful for him in a way nobody could imagine.
Certainly seems that way from what I've heard so far.
Yeah.
We saw this with Red Eye in Sonic 3, we see it with the mech bosses here, so that's all cleared up. I was worried last week, like, you know, am I doing something wrong? No, it's just that all of my friends are really weird.
Fair enough, I guess.
I am number one most normal human.
And I guess that is what makes me strange, is how my experiences are reportedly pretty average.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's mostly unrelated to the dark story. I just felt like it needed clearing up.
No, that's good. I kind of had a sense of that, but when you stated it that way, now I recognize it.
But, in any case, we were doing the dark side story of Sonic Adventure 2, a villain playthrough. We've never got that in one of these games before. This is the first time you can play as Eggman in any main Sonic game. And
okay,
maybe...
let's just... You're just going to jump right into that. Yeah. You get to play as Eggman? What? That's amazing.
This is pretty big.
This automatically
no, Big was in the last game.
No. No, because he doesn't have the glorious voice lines, totally dunking on every enemy you blast and proclaiming that he is the best at the end of stages. We had Mean Bean Machine, like, okay, that was Eggman's game. Not really. Now, this is really Eggman's game because he's at the forefront of the dark side story. Right. I never would have guessed that they would do something like this. In a mainline game, I should say. No, the racing games don't count. It's really strange how they're like, mech gameplay. I don't know what to do with the heroes. I guess we'll just throw Tails. But no, they obviously had Eggman in mind here for this type of gameplay. And oh boy, it fits like a glove.
Okay, I'm glad it was not just me.
Yeah, it feels a lot better on Eggman.
Yeah, we start off with Eggman breaking into a high-security government facility looking for a secret weapon, you know, which, obviously, we've played the hero story, we know that it is, but it feels just correct. He's in his element here.
Yeah.
Well, I was just saying, this is Eggman's plot. Shadow Rouge, get out of here. It's just Eggman's plot.
It's Eggman's world, and we're all just living in it.
Exactly. Welcome to Eggman Land.
Specifically, we are living in Iron Gate, his first stage, which is sort of just Prison Lane, but better.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
No, it's definitely true.
Yeah, both of them kind of blend together in my mind. But yeah, I think there's more open parts where you can just slip and fall because the mechs control strangely in Prison Lane. So yeah, that's probably true.
And in case you're curious, making the mecha forklift does not make its controls make more sense.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's a psychological thing, just because you're so used to seeing Eggman pilot any kind of machine that it's like, yeah, that's correct. That feels less stupid than Tails.
Yeah, it really does.
We also didn't have, like, a preconceived notion of, like, how Eggman moves.
I guess you could sort of, because you always see him in the Eggmobile.
Yeah, but, like, we never moved around as Eggman, so it didn't feel like we were having anything taken away. Whereas you put Tails in a mech, it feels like things are being taken away.
Right.
Yeah.
It's psychological. I think some of Eggman's stages are definitely better, like this one. I think you're right. But mainly, it's just, it doesn't feel right, but it feels right with Eggman. And oh boy, it feels right when you're playing through this stage. And unlike Tails, who's playing the hero, as you go through each section of Prison Island, the announcer keeps talking about how you breach each place. Like, yeah, this is an Eggman mission, let's go.
Yeah, the big security doors that you blow up, it feels good.
Yeah.
Not exactly a complex level, it's just, you do the thing and it feels good. I do like the lighting changes, it shifts to redder hues as you get deeper and deeper.
Yeah. It gives you a good sense of, like, emergency lights being switched on.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
if you find the Chow key in this stage, then you are treated to a glorious taste of Eggman outside of his mech,
Oh
which
god,
is
he's so cursed.
His
which
big,
is
beautiful body.
hilarious. I'm so glad that they put this in the game.
He's built like a gorilla.
I just love that he's fast. He can run really fast.
Yeah,
He can run very fast.
he
In
can run
keeping with
very
the
fast. He
classics.
has some of the best chow petting noises of any character.
Yosh.
People always talk about, like, oh, is Eggman fond of Chow? Yeah, this is outright confirmation. You cannot convince me, oh, the Chow Garden isn't canon. No, this is canon.
No, he's totally.
It's only
Everyone's
from
fond
Eggman's
of Chow.
perspective, though.
Well,
No
yes.
one else actually visited the Chow Garden. It's all Eggman.
Yeah, of course.
Right, that's the only canon part.
That way we can get the
Yeah.
most Eggman per Eggman.
It makes so much sense, you know? Eggman gets to the deepest center of Iron Gate, and then he leaves Prison Island to go visit some Chow, and then he comes back, goes all the way back through Iron Gate again, and then has the next cutscene.
Yes, of course.
Well, yeah, like, to be
I
fair,
mean,
he put his, like, fridge on one side of Iron Gate and his bed on the other side of Iron Gate, so, like,
Ah,
he's
yes,
used
of
to the
course.
track.
Exactly. And speaking of refrigerators, Eggman gets to the secret thing. It's a big, cryogenic...
Refrigerator.
Yeah, it's a fridge.
refrigerator.
And the password is
Hungry.
Ma-ri-a, which I like how the animation and dialogue is definitely still synced to the Japanese syllables instead of English letters.
I also like that this gives us some idea that bad passwords, that just happens in the Sonic universe. It's not Eggman. Eggman's not the only one with bad passwords.
Or
That's just
maybe-
how people think in this world.
Maybe it's some connection to the Robotnik lineage.
The password is
yeah.
12345.
That's the kind of thing an idiot would have on his luggage.
So,
I hate when I get bad password skills genetically.
so you're right that it's a bad password, but I think this isn't too hard to rationalize, because as we may see later, it's very possible that whoever left this here intended for it to be opened later at some point.
I think that's probably a pretty safe assumption.
Yeah. And the secret weapon that has been concealed inside this is a hedgehog. Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, we make jokes about Amy and about the police, but even Eggman mistakes him for Sonic at first.
To be fair, it's only for like a second.
This is also the most believable, I think, because Shadow is way up high and Eggman's on the ground, and I assume this is Hollywood lighting and it's probably darker than it actually appears on screen. And yes, it is only for a second.
Yeah, definitely the most reasonable of the not being able to tell hedgehogs apart.
It really is.
Well, and especially since it catches him off guard, because you locate a dangerous bioweapon and you don't expect it to be, you know, some 3-foot-tall teenage bitch.
Yeah, I mean, when someone is so known for thwarting your plans, and you see someone that looks vaguely like the person that's known for thwarting your plans, you're probably going to assume it's the person who's usually thwarting your plans to start.
No, that's
Yep.
reasonable. Yeah.
Like, he probably thought he was just getting caught again.
But, yeah, Shadow promises to help Eggman with something. I don't know if he specifically says conquer the world, but he says, I'll do what you say.
I'll
And
grant
then he
you
has-
one wish for awakening me.
Oh, that's what it is, yeah.
Yep, because Shadow is 1/3 genie.
Well, and
Apparently.
Eggman even questions the wish granting thing.
Yeah. But that is after the boss fight that Shadow starts with, which we're starting with the boss fight again. But at least in this case, I'd say they tend to expect you to play the hero's side story first, even though I know multiple people played the dark side first.
Mm.
But Shadow's first boss is the same as Sonic's, basically. Hotshot is just Bigfoot with one extra attack.
Yep.
Yep, I guess they just had to have some boss reuse in this game, aside from the obvious.
Yeah, I think it was largely because they thought some people might start with
Probably.
Dark Side, even if Hero was the intended side to start with. Because when I first played this game, I started with Dark Side.
Mm.
Yeah,
No,
it's
yeah,
your-
I don't think it
I
was
didn't
that
start Hero
uncommon.
Side till I got stuck in Dark
cool.
Side when I was a kid.
Yeah, so Shadow destroys that, and he's like, oh, if you want your wish granted, which, I mean, he means world domination, obviously, but he says, bring more Chaos Emeralds and meet me on the Space Colony Arc. And Eggman's like, what? And then he
Yeah,
leaves.
he'll grant any one wish of world destruction.
Yeah,
Hey,
there is an old Sonic Sprite comic that I used to read in, like, middle school, maybe even elementary school, where, at one point, Eggman frees Shadow, and Shadow's like, I will grant you one wish. And Eggman says, I want a swimming pool full of lemon jello. And Shadow's like, oh, bye. So he's clearly lying. And then we get to see Again with the jarring transitions, but we've already talked about that. We get to see the Knuckles Rouge cutscene from the other side, which means that Eggman really did, just as he was going to his base, just see Knuckles and was like, ooh.
Yeah, this is exactly.
Yeah.
Man, I've already ranted, but they really shoehorned this in.
Are we saying Eggman just has really bad ADHD?
I don't know, you see shiny rock, maybe he's got a lesser form of Rouge's condition. Also, Rouge's theme, Fly in the Freedom, I think it's probably the best character theme that any girl in the series has. Because, like, we've discussed how we don't really like My Sweet Passion, and it's like, even Villanova for Blaze, it's a good song, it doesn't feel like a good character theme. And then, like, the only remaining one is, like, Elise, which is like, eh.
Well, I am 100% biased for Sonic Rush, so I cannot comment.
My point is I like Fly in the Freedom, that's the whole thing.
Alright, I'll take your word on it.
Well, and it sets the tone for Rouge's stages, where Knuckles had the amazing cheesy raps for all of his levels. Rouge has, like, smooth jazz throughout Dry Lagoon here.
God, I loved it.
Yeah, it's good.
Lauren finds himself missing the raps.
It fit, yeah, no, it's true. It fits the character, I suppose, though, so good job. I will say, though, the stages are great, still.
Yeah, Dry Lagoon is fine. It's basically just a different version of Wild Canyon, although it's called Dry Lagoon even though it's full of water.
Yeah. It's one of the more nonsensical stage names. Maybe not nonsensical, but blatantly false.
I think
Yeah.
nonsensical works.
Well, it's no Scrap Brain, but yeah.
Yeah.
I did not have the best experience with this stage, because this stage can be just as easy and quick as Wild Canyon. However, there is an underwater room that you need to ride the back of a turtle to get into, and if there's an emerald piece in there, it fucking sucks.
I didn't think it was that bad, and I did have an emerald piece in there.
Maybe it's just because the water timer in this game is a little short.
I think it's like pretty rough for a first stage emerald location.
The water timer didn't even go off for me.
Huh. Whatever. Maybe it was just me.
I don't know.
Kill issue.
Monkey's Paw. That's what we gotta remember.
True.
I do like that it's a similar sort of area, but this time at an oasis. I like how they reuse stage themes, but they switch them up sometimes.
It's got more greenery.
Yeah, you mentioned the turtle that for some reason you have to rescue from gun robots that are bullying it, and I don't know why.
Is government evil turtle good?
I guess so.
Well, we made a
Gun
joke
robots
about
are
how they were
confusing in this
drilling
game.
oil in Wild Canyon. You know, if this is close by, it's like, oh, maybe they're trying to exploit, other local resources.
Yeah, just trying to find more oil.
I guess. I had forgotten about that theory. That makes sense.
Yeah, so, decent stage. But then we cut back to Eggman, so no speed stage just yet. Instead, we get Eggman finally closing in on his base in Sand Ocean, a nighttime desert level. And it is 90% quicksand, and you don't have a hover boost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't pay much attention to replaying stages or bosses with upgrades, but man, replaying this stage with the hover boost, it's way better.
The chunky
This
platforming, you have to go as
time.
slow as the game wants.
Mm-hmm.
So many times because I was being impatient in this stage.
Yeah, you can't be. Gotta go slow. Yeah.
And it's the best kind of dying, where like, it's easy, but you're just being impatient, so you're dying.
Well, they just
Right,
don't.
yeah.
They don't need to make the stages rely on slow-moving platforms.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, it was not a good time. It wasn't a absolutely horrendous time, but it was not a good time.
Maybe they just should have given you the booster beforehand. That would have made the whole thing probably fine.
Oh yeah, I probably would. This stage would probably rank relatively highly for me if you have the booster the first time you're going through it, because it feels like it's made for you to have the booster and you just don't.
I think
It
I
really
still
does.
stand by what I said in SA1, that if they gave you the upgrades from the start, I wouldn't complain at all.
Yeah, gameplay aside, I like the vibes of this stage a lot. The
Oh yeah,
the
the vibes are
music
great.
combined with the night lighting makes it so chill.
Also,
And
for some reason, it seems uncommon for desert stages in games to be at night, so just really cool that this one was at night.
Yeah.
Desert stages almost always lean into the sun beating down, super
Right.
hot, everything sucks.
I suppose that makes sense when you think of the desert, but the desert also gets cold at night, which people often forget.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is neat.
Here we
I
got
hadn't
some
thought of
chill
that.
nighttime vibes in the desert.
Oh yeah.
And I like the implications of this stage too. It's really just Eggman going home. It's like a casual stroll. This is like what he does when he goes home for the night. Just comes to his base, going over precarious obstacles, blowing up a few government robots along the way. It's just part of his routine.
Well, and it couples perfectly with the cutscene after, where he just goes and checks out the evening news, and the fucking dub voice of the newscaster is one of the most hilariously bad pseudo-British accents ever. It's really weird. It's like, the hedgehog that was found in the... It's really weird. But, yeah, so he sees Shadow on the news, who's just terrorizing downtown. He's having a good time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, of course you'd be having a good time. You don't do that if you're not having a good time.
Shadow really is Sonic's mirror image, because he just woke up from who knows how long, and he's wasting no time running out and starting to commit crimes all over the place.
Absolutely. When it's so silly how the camera gets right up close against his face, and then they say it's Sonic the Hedgehog. No, it's not.
We also get a little bit of a hint into what's up with Shadow, because we get a flashback, and I don't know if we are told that it's Maria, but it's Maria there in the flashback, looking not very polished.
I'd say she's in the upper tier of human models in this game. She looks better than the president and his secretary, but she looks a little off.
Yeah.
She looks a lot better than President, but that's not entirely the President's quality of model. Partially it's their design decisions with the President.
Yeah, pointy.
Like, he'd look pointy even with a higher res model, because they just decided to make him a pointy man.
Maybe the thing for me is, usually I think like, oh, the side characters can look off and it doesn't really matter. But Maria is kind of right in the middle. She's kind of an important character, and yet she kind of doesn't really get great quality still.
That's true. For how important she is, her model isn't that great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
and this
overall, in the game's like hierarchy of models, she's pretty high up there.
True.
Well, and especially since this is
Yeah.
a pivotal scene both for, the game, the character, and for Sonic in general, because this is the point where it's like, wow, you guys are really going all in on this, because Shadow's backstory is that he lived on a space station, and at one point there was some kind of attack there, we don't know exactly what yet, and his friend, who is a sickly child, gets gunned down trying to save him. I think you don't hear the gunshot in the English version, but in the Japanese version you definitely do right as the flashback happens.
Yeah, I love it. This is great.
Yeah, it very quickly tries to set a very dark tone.
It's a little crazy. I think that definitely a lot of people are like, oh, that's not what Sonic should be. And it's like, yes, and in that, yes, it shouldn't be that, but also I like to see them do weird stuff. And if you keep it on the down low, which this game does all right at, it doesn't feel that bad. It's more like, wow, the implications of this are crazy.
Oh yeah, no, like,
Yeah.
you skip the cutscenes in the game, you don't know that the game is, like, that much darker than an average Sonic game.
Well, I mean, it's not
Yeah.
like they go out of their way to showcase the hole in her chest or something, so...
Well, yeah, but they had to keep it at a certain rating.
Well, I don't want
They
them to
weren't
do
trying
that.
to push that ratings that hard yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
Even
But,
at this point in the podcast, I've seen so much weird stuff in Sonic the Hedgehog already. This doesn't faze me at all.
Yeah, I mean, we're not at some of the later Penders comics where people get shot in the back yet, so, that's still coming.
Exactly.
But yes, so Maria, says, Shadow, you have to promise me, and then we don't see what she says, but Shadow's like, you're right, I do promise you revenge, violent retribution on the people who shot you. Which I'm not sure is what the 12-year-old girl wanted, but, maybe that's just me.
I
No, it's
mean,
definitely what you wanted. It's what Shadow remembers, so it has
I
to be
mean,
true.
I've met
Yeah.
12-year-olds.
Well, that's a good
Shadow's
point,
memory
actually.
is fully trustworthy all the time.
True. Memory never ever is fallible.
Especially not Shadow's.
Especially not.
Whatever his memory says, it does lead into his first proper stage, Radical Highway. And, Sid, you want to take it away?
Okay. I fucking love Radical Highway. I have played Radical Highway over and over and over so many times, and I've never once gotten sick or frustrated with this stage. It's
It is
gorgeous.
a really good level.
Its theme is an absolute banger, which I almost never think about as stage theme in anything. But it is an absolute banger. The stage is so fun. The many routes in it all feel great. It's just flawless.
It's a damn good level. Yeah. I would
Yeah.
say that, with maybe one exception, the speed stages are the only ones that don't feel compromised between Sonic and Shadow. They felt like they really wanted to make sure everyone was great, and Radical Highway is the perfect example.
Yeah.
It is the perfect counterpart to City Escape.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's literally a darker, edgier version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that they took a mech stage and turned it into a speed stage, or vice versa, because usually the theming is the same between gameplay types.
Yeah,
I
usually it's 1-to-1.
Yeah, I can't think of a lot of examples where they mix it up like that. So that's unique.
Which really cool to see them do.
Yeah, no, that's great.
No, I
Very
think
cool.
that in terms of reusing assets, this game is one of the best examples because they do stuff like take the desert, put it at night. Suddenly it feels very different. Take City Escape, put it at night for part of Mission Street, and then the other part becomes a Radical Highway. We're not at Skyrail yet, but that's another good example.
Yeah, I agree. It's solid. It's a good start to Shadow's proper stages. My only other comment is just a really weird bug that I found that I'd never seen before. In the stage, there are these gun planes that are flying around and trying to shoot you. Interestingly, if you're good, you can actually hit them and destroy them.
Yes, you can.
But what happened to me this playthrough, and I'd never ever seen before, at one part in the stage, one of them just froze in midair and started shooting me rapid fire like a machine gun. And like it was almost impossible to get by. And the whole time the game was playing the really loud like jet aircraft sound effect on loop. And so my ears were bleeding and I couldn't
that
get
would be
past it. Like,
agony.
what is going on? And then I was like, okay, time to die. Killed myself and then it didn't happen again.
They found a way to ruin Radical Highway.
That's
It
the
was
power of
bizarre.
Sonic
The
Team's PC
bastards.
ports.
It's almost definitely the problem with the PC part.
Yeah.
I do find it funny to imagine, this guy burning through the highway, destroying fighter jets, less than an hour after he's woken up and doesn't know what's going on. He's 50 years later.
Since we're like bringing up the fighter jets, what the fuck is wrong with Gun, and why would they shoot missiles at a highway?
Look, it's the military. They're not known for being all of that
Wait, but this is like
intelligent.
completely unhinged
I mean, there's no humans in this level, so maybe they
That's-
blocked it off.
anymore.
Yeah, the military killed all of them.
The more we talk about this, the illogical placements of the gun robots, the aforementioned darker plot and how that will link to them, and now this, it's surprising the game never touches upon, gun, maybe chill out a little bit, because they're really
They just
characterized
seem straight
as
up
pretty
evil.
rotten. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never thought of that, but that really is.
Oh, I
Yeah,
think
like
that that's entirely intentional, because, I mean, this is the Jet Set Radio generation, where it probably shared at least a couple devs with the game where they brought out tanks and fighter jets for teenagers painting graffiti on things. I think it's a commentary on some police militarization and urban authoritarianism.
But yeah, I just wanted to point out that like Gun's destroying highways by shooting missiles at it.
Yeah, they're kind of fashy. Don't like them.
Yeah, I think let's not beat around it. They are like full on, not kind of. This is SA2, and they are not the good guys.
No.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we learn here that Rouge is an agent for Gun. She is a secret agent investigating Eggman, which
She's
I've always...
literally a Fed.
Which, thank God, this made me like her character so much more because it like added
Right?
depth to it.
Exactly.
Like it made her so much more intriguing as a character instead of just me liking shiny rocks.
Well, this is what I actually like about Rouge the most, is that she does take her job seriously and just happens to be like a master jewel thief on the side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No, it
that's
reminds
fine.
me of, like-
Everyone needs a hobby.
That's
it
true.
reminds me of like spy movie archetype where there's that one spy that they just like contract that spy because the government knows they can't keep them in control. That's Rouge.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. That comes out a little bit later, I think, in the
We
story.
control Rouge, so we let her steal stuff and occasionally make her do government stealing stuff.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's great. It makes Rouge so much more of a likable character.
Yeah, no, definitely. I also appreciate how the Dark Story justifies the whole Knuckles Master Emerald scene. In the Hero Story, it looks completely pointless, but in the Dark Story, it's revealed that that was how Rouge saw where Eggman was hiding out, and so she chases him down. So I appreciate that they're adding, like, first of all, that the two sides of the story are adding more complexity and revealing new details, justifying things I thought were pointless before.
Yeah, I think that they emphasize that Rouge she's not just complaints and jiggle physics, she's clever, and that's her best asset.
Yeah, it shows that like
Yeah.
she's clever. She knows how to like manipulate things into her favor extremely well.
Yeah. And that's
Makes her super
exemplified
intriguing.
in Egg Quarters here, which is her second stage, which is like Death Chamber, but not as bad, except you
Wrong.
can also get shot.
So I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. Egg Quarters is probably my least favorite treasure hunting stage.
Ooh, that is a hot take.
It's my take though. The egg beetle is so annoying. It's not an actual threat, but it just harasses you throughout the whole stage. And
Yeah,
you know,
that thing was really annoying.
you're trying to take it slow, comb every corner, hunt things down, and the game keeps telling you, stop, take it slower, you're going too fast, hide in the shadows here for like 15 seconds while the egg beetle passes by. Or don't do that, and then it just shoots you, and you have to go pick up your rings,
And then
which
you run away, and it's fine.
it's not exactly difficult, but it's grating over time. And the thing will just snipe you no matter what. At first, when I played this, I tried to avoid it completely and it never even shot me. And then eventually I'm like, well, what happens? And no, the thing just snipes you. You cannot avoid it. It's stupid. So yeah, that just ruins an otherwise well-designed stage.
I get that. For me, it's just
Fair.
that the simpler geometry of the level makes it quicker to navigate, even if I'm getting shot along the way.
Yeah, I found this one to be more bearable than the Knuckles equivalent, but I dislike both quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of either, I want to be clear.
My exact notes on this is not a good time.
Yeah.
I don't even have notes on that stage. That's how bad it was.
Well, at
So
least,
bad you had to
at
put a
least you
mental
can...
block.
At least you can watch Rouge's ears synchronize with her tit jiggle in the victory animation.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that noticed that.
Like, okay, the fact that they gave her boob jiggle at all is very ridiculous. The fact that they have it synchronize with her ears is just takes it into, like, camp stupidness.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to mention it again, but because you keep bringing it up, literally, I would have no problem with this character if it wasn't for that stupid design. You might think, like, oh, who cares about design? Like, that's so surface level. This game really tries to make you notice the design.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you're 100% right.
I can't get mad. I think it's funny at this point, and this isn't really related, but this has come up, so I gotta mention it now. When Sonic Prime got announced, right, they showed off Rouge's character profile, and her outfit in
boy.
that show is less revealing, and her proportions are a little less weird in that show. And I
Thank
made
God.
this drawing of Tucker Carlson getting upset about that, going like,
Yep.
they desexualized Lola Bunny, they desexualized the green M&M, and now they're taking the bat titties from me, and it's legitimately one of my favorite things I've made. And
That is a really funny meme.
as
It
I
was
was
a
editing
banger.
last week's video, I got to the part where we were talking about Rouge, and I discovered that if you Google Rouge boobs, what do you see on the first page before any of the overt Rule 34 art but my fucking drawing of Cuckboy Carl's sweaty face?
Alright, let's confirm this. There's too many
Okay,
O's.
independent research. I'm going to do this too.
Yeah, I'm checking.
Well, it is on the first
Yeah,
page.
yeah, it is on the first page, and now I have regrets.
Yeah,
so I saw the
so
rest
do
of
I.
the first
Yeah,
page.
now Rouge
yeah,
boobs is in your
confirm.
search
Worked
history.
for me as well. Interesting.
Yeah, it is
Okay,
there.
well, good job. A few internet
Wait,
points for you.
Bing too really easily.
I'll give you an upvote the next time I see a Reddit comment, Devin.
Fans who wonder why I'm searching Rouge boobs, make up whatever stories you want that make you happy. I'm gonna make a joke about sucking off Infinite once we get to Forces. I do not care about your judgment. Anyway, let's move on. Lost Colony is another Eggman stage, with the defining trait being that you're bumbling around in the dark.
This is another one of just Eggman's routines, the stage, which I like.
He still hasn't gotten home yet. He's still on his walk home.
Yeah. We're seeing what Eggman does when he's not busy talking the big talk and throwing whatever robot at Sonic the Hedgehog. He's investigating apparently abandoned space stations.
As you do when looking
yeah.
for a new place to live.
Makes sense. I mean, with the economy these days, makes sense.
Abandoned space stations near me.
That comment will never age, unfortunately, probably. But it's interesting to see the arc not at full power you must die mode, but more like half power you should probably die mode.
There's no
Mild
artificial
suggestion
chaos
of
in this
death.
level, are there?
I don't think so, no.
And you get the hover boosters. So yeah, automatically,
Finally.
this might be the... Okay, it's not. I don't think it's the most good arc level, but it's definitely one of the better ones.
Hard to say.
I
There's
do
a lot of
agree,
different
it is
ones.
less going to shit than most of space.
Yeah, no, decent stage. I don't know if I have anything else for it.
I have a note about like getting hit off the map a bunch in the stage and caring very little.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Knockback
Right,
sucks,
yeah,
man.
it's one of your skills.
I have a very specific set of skills, and it usually involves falling through or off of objects.
Amazing. So, after this, Shadow finally shows Eggman I say the true purpose of the arc in my notes, that's not quite true, but he shows Eggman the most powerful asset of the arc, which is a super weapon called the Eclipse Cannon, which is supposedly capable of destroying an entire planet when the 7 Chaos Emeralds are in it.
Shadow is just playing Eggman like a fiddle. I find this great. Eggman just can't possibly resist. He probably has like a brief moment of, wow, this is surprisingly good. But then he's like, yeah, but this has got to be mine. No, we're doing this. Shadow, we're friends now. Like, he is completely in Shadow's confidence now.
Yeah.
I just realized the Space Station arc is basically the Watchtower from the 2000s Justice League show. And now I can't stop thinking about that. Is they both just have like these massive orbital lasers, like largely pointed at the planet it's supposed to be like near.
But I like Shadow in this. He is playing Eggman, he is being manipulative. But it makes sense that Eggman would trust him after the amount that they've done so far. What I think doesn't make quite as much sense is when Rouge shows up, and she's like, oh, can I get in on this? And neither of them are like, how are you here? Or who the hell are you?
You're just like, yeah, sure.
So
This is how evil people meet normally.
First of all, you're probably right, Sid.
I mean, that's
Break
how all
into your
of us
future
met.
boss's house.
This is how all of us met.
Yeah, I just broke into Devin's house one day, and then
Yeah, same.
now I'm on the podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how it works.
It leads to the Prison Island plan, which it's not quite clear how they get to and from the arc. I think Eggman has some kind of teleport, but we don't really see it.
That's showed explicitly at some point. I just don't know if it's been shown yet.
Yeah, but we very quickly get back to Prison Island. I don't know if there's like multiple days between this, but they're plotting to steal 3 Chaos Emeralds that the government has, which, wow, they're actually like halfway competent at finding those, apparently.
I love that we've got the evil gang finally assembled. It's great to see the trio of Eggman, Rouge, and Shadow all here plotting a pretty competent plan, I would say. Eggman will cause a diversion, and then Shadow will plant the bombs, and Rouge will steal the Chaos Emeralds. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which pretty solid, especially since, as we'll see, since Eggman was just there, they're like totally not expected to return almost immediately. I don't think this was that long. And even if it was a day, that's still too soon that they would expect. So I like seeing bits where the evil team is doing good.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, and yeah, in that we have Weapons Bed, which is Eggman's version of Metal Harbor, and it's a little bland, if I'm honest. It's not terrible, but I don't love it.
It's not as cool as Metal Harbor.
It kind of made some of my problems with Metal Harbor more apparent to me.
Oh.
Like, visually, I wasn't that big of a fan of Metal Harbor when playing through it as Sonic. Gameplay-wise, I loved it. Visually, I wasn't super into it personally.
enough.
And I very much visually was not into it when I was going through it slowly as Eggman, and I had to look at it.
That's fair.
It's just kind of gray aircraft carriers.
Yeah, there's just so much gray.
I think when you're playing as Sonic, it has the benefit of you're going through it fast
Yeah.
with great music.
Yeah,
So-
well, and you ride a missile, so,
Right.
And apparently Gunn are willing to shoot missiles at their own aircraft carrier?
Maybe it was being scrapped. I don't know.
Yeah, you get
And
shot
they
at by a
get it,
lot
of
more
course.
fighter jets in this.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the
All those
most...
fighter jets were defunct.
It's not the most engaging stage, but I just appreciate it because, as I alluded to earlier, it just fits perfectly plot-wise with the gameplay, because you go through it slowly, blowing up deactivated robots and aircraft,
Get big score bonuses off
and
those.
you get huge score
Yeah.
bonuses, which is always very satisfying.
That is
Um,
very
So
satisfying.
yeah, it's not supposed to be super engaging, because it's just Eggman going in and being like, all right, let's blow up a whole bunch of stuff, and you get to do
Yeah.
that.
fair
It is
enough.
true. It is very lore-friendly, that it is not that engaging.
I'll say this. One interesting response to the whole Shadow Sonic confusion is that, from at least the military and media perspective, they totally could just be, like, lying and having Sonic take the fall for Shadow to cover up that their mistake let Shadow go.
Maybe.
I really like that.
That makes sense.
But
Not
that doesn't
bad.
stop Amy from
That
making
really
the
helps my
same
theory
fuck
of
up
Gunner
and
just,
jumping
like,
on Shadow.
blatantly, cartoonishly evil.
Yeah. So Amy really is just here. There's no explanation. She makes the same mistake and jumps on Shadow, and it's like, oh, it's Sonic. No, it's not.
At least Amy also figures it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, not before jumping on him, though.
Well,
Yeah, she
I don't know.
globs
She
him.
was.
Yeah, so this reveals that Eggman was going to, I don't know, pull an early gambit with Amy, perhaps, but Tails comes and stops him.
Yep. And the Tails
Mm.
fight is easy. It's exactly the same as the other one.
Oh yeah, that was dirt easy.
Yes, and when you have an unexpected delay, what you think is that you would want to give yourselves more time. But
Nope, gonna play
instead,
him less time.
here at the start of Security Hall, Eggman tells Rouge to set the bomb timer for 15 minutes, but Rouge says 5 minutes should be plenty, and so you
Thank
have
you,
to do a
Rouge.
giant treasure hunt level in 5 minutes.
That is so blatantly dumb and a sloppy way to explain why you have 5 minutes of time. They're not even mad. That's hilarious.
And it's lore unfriendly as opposed to the Eggman level, because what you would hope is that Rouge gives Gun a tip-off to get as many of them off the island as possible before it explodes.
Oh, of course she doesn't.
Well, we don't see her do that, certainly.
Yeah.
To be honest, I never thought of that. There's a bit later that I'm like, what are you doing, Rouge? But I didn't think about how here I have to imagine that Gun is, I'm just going to keep painting him as evil and as possible, that they're willing to sacrifice, their own base in order to get more information. Because I do think even if she stopped the Chaos Emeralds from being stolen, there's a very high chance that Shadow and Eggman would have gotten away. So I could see her actually having informed Gun, and then they're just like, oh yeah, this is fine. We'll just, raise taxes or something to pay for it.
Well, all of that is secondary to the pain of actually playing Security Hall, because I mean, this level is a giant like letter U. It's a big curve, so it's like it feels very samey each part of it, which makes it easy to get lost. But
Yep.
worse than that is that you have these safes all along the walls, and the emeralds can be in there. You don't know that they're in there; they can be anywhere. But if they are in there, you actually can't open them unless you go all the way up to the top and press a button to open them.
Which takes ages to do on your 5-minute timer.
Yeah.
I may have
I'm-
failed the level more than a few times because of that exact situation.
I must have gotten really lucky or something because I didn't struggle with this very much.
You can get lucky. Sometimes all of the
Yeah.
emeralds can be outside the safes. Sometimes there's
Yeah.
like one down below and two up above in the button room.
I think it took me 2 or 3 tries, but every time I got 2 down below and 1 up above, I just got killed by lasers on getting the one up above.
There is a lot of lasers.
The lasers are the annoying part of the level,
I
but
just straight up cheated on this level, I'm gonna be honest.
ooh,
I don't blame
I
you.
just turned
Don't-
on infinite time.
Here's
no,
the
that's
thing.
fair.
Here's the thing. I don't struggle an incredible amount in this level. I just object to the idea of putting a time limit on a treasure hunt level at all.
Yeah, no,
Especially-
I agree.
Especially
Yeah.
with how far apart some of the locations are in this and needing to go up to the top to press the buttons to open the safes. Like, it's...
Well, because it's about
level is too large.
exploration.
If you're gonna do a timed level, it's too large.
It's exploration and it's like vaguely trial and error-ish. If you're gonna put a timer on any level, have it be a level where the things you're doing involve going fast. Like Green Forest and White Jungle. We don't have a problem with the timers on those levels.
Or like,
They're also
if they
quite
were going to put a
generous.
timer on this level,
Yeah.
they should have like put specific emerald spawns instead of a pool. That way it could be balanced around the fact there's a timer.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I can't defend this too much when thinking objectively. Certainly, I had not considered the RNG can make for vastly different experiences here.
Yeah.
I mean, the other stages, you might waste an extra 10 minutes or something, but you'll probably still find it and it'll be fine. But here, no, you won't find it. You'll be dead. Because often I don't get very bad locations, and also I'm just pretty experienced with the stage too, so I know how it works. So yeah, certainly that wouldn't be great if you just get in those saves. I had not considered that because the game doesn't explain to you how this stage works. You have to figure it out, of course. So fair points all around. I do enjoy it though because it's kind of unique, frantically running around instead of carefully hunting around. And the stage is smaller than a typical stage, so they did try a little bit to balance it.
If they were
And-
gonna have something to make you frantic, it doesn't need to be a hard time limit though. You just need something
I guess one thing that they did do, and I think we probably can all agree they did do well to make it feel a little more frantic, is Eggman keeps yelling at you throughout the whole stage, being like,
Oh,
hurry
God,
up.
yeah.
I do
I
love
have
that.
so many threats to Eggman in my notes for this stage. Half of my notes is woo in all caps, and the other half are threats to Eggman.
He really gets under your skin in this game, doesn't he?
I wanted to crash a car into a tree after this stage.
Jesus.
A tree painted with
I-
the gun logo, I assume.
Yeah, tree with the gun logo.
Ah, okay.
I see your point.
Oh, it also have
even
the
if
gun
I-
logo.
Even if I have a good time. No, yeah. Probably it would have been better for the average player experience to tweak this a lot a bit.
The same goes for the boss after this, which is not me saying that this is a particularly hard boss, but Rouge's only original boss fight, and I'm using original in scare quotes here, is Flying Dog, a version of Hotshot and Bigfoot with no legs.
I really did like this general boss design, didn't they?
I
Man,
wrote
that
it
was a
down
weird
as
fight.
Bigfoot and Hotshot, but more boring, because I had to wait more.
Why are you
Yeah.
fighting this? You work for these people. Were they not told?
I
Yeah,
mean,
and
probably.
this,
Because of
this
Vendetta
one's
against
literally
Rouge.
piloted by a guy too. So
This
I'm
guy just
thinking,
hates Rouge and wants to thinks Rouge is bad for Gun to associate with, so he's trying to kill Rouge and all the confusion and chaos.
This guy is an
yeah.
incel. He's upset that Rouge wouldn't go on a date with him.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
that's an even better explanation, honestly.
I probably don't even
Jesus.
need to follow up with my theory, but I will anyway, which is that to make it more convincing, in quotes, Gunn decided to not tell most of their staff that Rouge was a double agent, and so this guy just thinks that, she actually is against him, which, I mean, she kind of is, actually. Even if he was in on the planet, I mean, what are you going to do? The whole place is going to blow up, and
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a weird
I don't know.
situation.
Personally,
but
if my workplace was blowing up, I would get the hell out of there. I wouldn't go fight my least favorite coworker.
You say that, but I can definitely think of some people at work who would do that.
Well, I'm thinking the guy doesn't have transport out because Rouge's ride is.
I think
Say
the guy
again?
probably could have escaped. If he got in his mech that can fly around, I think he probably could have got out of the exploding area.
Well, and this is
Depends
one
on how
of the
quick
more
it is.
confusing
If
things.
Rouge has enough time to get out, I think the mech would have enough time to get out.
I will say, as far as the actual boss fight itself, honestly, I like it the most of the dogs because it's always vulnerable, which is actually very rare among boss fights in this game. You can just climb up and then glide into it as many times as you want, aside from invincibility frames. So, gets an award for that.
Yeah,
Wait,
no,
you
it's
can
yeah.
not.
get into it?
You're supposed to do the dig drill into it, right?
You can if you want. You can just land on
Oh.
it if you.
Yeah.
I thought I
okay.
had to hit it with the dig drill, and I was getting
Same.
so frustrated because I have really bad depth perception, and
Yeah,
I thought that was
yeah.
the only way.
Yeah, no. That made me kind of hate the fight because I thought I had to dig drill into it.
Well, Bruce, we're just stupid.
Alright, cool.
This is what I get for not doing a
Interesting.
notes and tips page for this game.
You think I would have read it?
Yeah,
your
that's
fault.
funny you think I'd read that, Devin.
You guys have read it before. Whatever.
I did not actually read your tips on anything.
I
Okay.
only read your tips on nights, I think.
Well, clearly we need to make Sid play Knights to set the timeline right.
Ah, yes, of course.
Anyway, after this boss, Rouge is locked in a room with the emeralds. I don't know if it's the boss room specifically. If we really want to do the SEGA, oh, nobody died thing.
It was
Either-
the coat closet.
Either that guy is the sole casualty or there's no casualties, but I don't know what exactly she did to get locked in there. Shadow now has to save Rouge because she's locked herself in a box.
God, I hate when I lock myself in a box.
I think it was probably the guy who said, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to lock us in this room, and both of us are going to die.
Okay, then.
Maybe.
He
Um,
really, really did not approve of Rouge being in the same workplace.
Jesus.
Anyway. Whatever the reason, it leads to White Jungle, which is Green Forest but pale, and I like the stage a lot.
Shadow gets another flashback, thinking about Maria, and that's where he decides, okay, now we'll go save Rouge.
Every time Shadow does something good, is that just 'cause he imagine them being Maria?
Probably.
No, that's kind of what this implies.
Yeah.
To be fair, he doesn't have much experience, so
That's what he does to get out of bed in the morning. Like, he just imagines Maria's on the other side of the room.
Jesus.
He is the hardened action hero who's like always thinking about his dead wife, and they have that same shot of her from the other side of the bed. That's in every action movie. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But sure, yes, White Jungle. That is
Oh,
the
thank
next
God.
stage.
Devin was really holding that
Go
one
ahead.
in.
I just really like this level. I like the theme. It's called Rhythm and Balance, and it has some guy like whispering in your ear for the lyrics. I have no idea what he's saying, but it's got a lot of the Green Forest gimmicks, but it feels faster in some ways. It feels paced differently.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, Shadow's light dash shoes, it makes it look like his jet boots have like fat asses on the heels.
His shoes do get dummy thick.
I really don't like them very much.
Jesus Christ.
You know what's a weird quirk of Shadow's light dash? This is the only time in the game that they're required. They never come up in a required part in a stage after this. It's really weird. It's
Just that
very
one-liner
underutilized.
I didn't even think of that. But yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
Shadow only has 4 stages in this game, so that might be part of it.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so White Jungle, good stage, good music.
God tier music. It's really kind of just Green Forest again, but this time rainier. So
I like it.
I like it.
I like
Yeah.
it a decent bit more than Green Forest. Like, it's very obvious they're taking place in the same area and they're supposed to
Right.
mirror each other, but like, I do think they do both stand on their own.
Well, because they
Yeah,
have a
no.
different tone. Because Green Forest is like a scramble. It's like the music for that is very much, oh gee willikers, Batman, we got to get out of here before the bomb goes off. Whereas this is more like, oh fuck, I need to get moving.
Yeah, this one is like, it's just being late for work.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically. You're like, I should probably hurry up, but I mean, I'm already late, so.
White Jungle is when like you stayed up till 4 a.m. and you work at 7.
Oh God, I know that feeling.
Yep.
Well, and that's exemplified in the Sonic boss fight, which is, that's exactly the same as whatever, but it makes it feel like, when Shadow says, that blue hedgehog again, of all places, he's actually, like, upset. He's like, no, I cannot deal with this right now, I'm busy.
Shadow has not had his coffee yet, and it shows.
You know what? I just realized. First of all, I hadn't mentioned it before, but they literally reused cutscenes between the two stories here instead of
Yes, they do.
doing alternative takes like they did in Sonic Adventure, which, on the one hand, that was completely wasted effort. However,
But it lets us get banger dialogue again here.
well, that is true. However, they do actually change the scene because it starts from Shadow's perspective rather than Sonic's perspective, and then it plays out the same after that. So that is a neat little adjustment.
Yeah, different camera angles to portray different perspectives definitely adds a little bit of value to the repeated cutscenes.
But then the fight's just the same. But what I realized was after the battle, that would be when Green Forest happens, and that stage has 7-minute timer, I think.
7 minutes.
Which makes me realize, if Rouge set the timer for 5 minutes, then how is there 7 minutes left after she's already run out of time?
Yeah,
That doesn't add up.
it doesn't make any sense.
Unless I may have misinterpreted the Rouge and Eggman exchange. Eggman says set the timer for 15 minutes, and she says 5 minutes should be plenty, which means I need 10 minutes to get out of here safely. So 5 minutes should be plenty to collect the Chaos Emeralds. And so I
did
think
see some people say that's how the dialogue was intended to be interpreted.
Yeah, I think that's actually the intention.
Which I
and then
immediately just
Shadow
ignored.
runs for 3 minutes and then fights Sonic, and that's why there's 7 minutes after this.
It's
But
possible. I don't know what the Japanese version is like. I don't remember. Even though I played it in Japanese, I wasn't paying attention. I think the thing to test would be, if you run out of time in Security Hall, does the island explode?
I think it's just game over. I don't think there's a cutscene or anything.
Okay, so it could be that. So yeah, if it's that, then that would make a lot more sense. I still don't like it, but it would make more sense. But yes, so Shadow makes it to Rouge somehow, if she's locked in a room, chaos control, whatever, and he warps them both all the way up to the Ark, which I don't know why we had to bother with White Jungle. If he really is chaos controlling that whole way, then the game is slowing down events considerably. That's the other way we could portray the time difference.
Fair.
But yeah, so we get another flashback here where we see Shadow and Maria bonding. I think they're supposed to have a very sibling-esque relationship, yeah?
100%.
Yeah.
And we learned that neither of them, I think they say that neither of them have ever been to Earth?
Yeah, that's true.
which I
Damn, Maria would have had some bone issues then if she ever got to Earth.
well, that's
That
part of
is
the
actually
reason.
a very big problem.
That's part of the reason is that Maria has a incurable disease. They call it the neuroimmune deficiency syndrome, which basically translates to space AIDS.
Yeah.
It's literally just one letter different. I don't know how I
Yeah.
feel about that. They don't say that out loud most of the time in the games, and I thank them for that because it's a little much in my opinion. But one thing they say is that the lower gravity on the Ark makes it easier on Maria's body, so that's why she's up there.
Wait, the Ark has lower gravity?
Sometimes
This is
It's
supported
in
by a stage
microgravity,
later
huh?
on.
it's selective, I admit, but
It must be because half of the time it seems to be perfectly normal 1G.
But that's my Maria was up there. She was Gerald's granddaughter, so she is Eggman's cousin, and we know absolutely nothing about either of Gerald's kids, either Maria's parents or Ivo's, I guess.
Do we know anything about Eggman and Maria's relationship?
The closest thing that Eggman ever does to espousing an opinion on Maria is that in one of the audio logs in Sonic Frontiers, 20 years after this
Damn.
game came out,
Okay.
Eggman bitterly remarks on how, Maria, everyone was so considered with someone who's gone when I was right there. So he,
I
at
know.
least on some level, blames this dead child for him being neglected somewhat.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
But that's all we get, pretty much.
Man, I am excited for Frontiers.
But part of the research that went on the Ark was trying to cure Maria's disease.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I have nothing to add to that
All
bit
right.
of backstory. We're getting it piece by piece. I'll have my words when it comes out all at once, because it doesn't quite all piece together. But for now, back to the present. Eggman threatens the whole world by blowing up half the moon and being like, "You're next unless you let me build Eggman Land," just like in the hero story. But then we see a different side, which is immediately afterwards, Eggman throws a temper tantrum and is like, "What the heck? Why didn't everyone immediately surrender to me? This sucks. I have to keep working. No Eggman Land yet." Um,
I love him acting entitled. It's great.
and I'd like to bring up some people have made the point, why does Eggman need all 7 Chaos Emeralds when 6 is plenty enough to threaten the world? I think the fact of the matter is, Shadow says, at this rate, the cannon will take too long to charge. And so I think the idea is that Eggman wants to get the 7th Chaos Emerald so he can just have it charged already so that no one will come and try to stop him, as is literally what happens. So
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes a lot more sense than wanting the added firepower.
yeah, that's kind of unnecessary. But yeah, so that part happens, and then Eggman is like, okay, so where is the last Chaos Emerald anyway? And then is it Rouge who pulls out the newspaper?
I think so, yeah.
And then we get this confusing bit of lore where, oh, hey, look, for saving Station Square, they awarded Tails with a Chaos Emerald. Ah, so that's where it went. Is there something wrong with this little bit of plot detail?
That emerald was supposed to be inside Chaos at the time.
Yeah, so this doesn't work sort of no matter how you look at it. On the one hand, you could think, okay, well, maybe they awarded it to Tails after Tails' story, but then he shouldn't have it anymore in that case, and so the information is useless. Or you look at it if it was after the fact, but it doesn't make any sense because then Chaos would have it. So there isn't really a good way to explain this, but I will try, which is that perhaps I think after the incident that the government took a bunch of the Chaos Emeralds, but they were like, okay, let's not put them all in one place though, because that's asking for trouble. So I know Sonic saved the day. We'll give him a Chaos. Oh, Sonic left. And then Tails was like, well, I like Chaos Emeralds. They work great with my inventions. And they're like, okay, you take it for safekeeping. Since you saved the day earlier anyway.
Well, and now I'm thinking, like, can I track each emerald in this game? Because it's like, the green one was at a bank, that's the one that Shadow steals. The yellow one was given to Tails. They have 3 in Security Hall. Where's the last one?
Rouge has it, I think?
Maybe. So, if we make the case that the government gathered up all of the emeralds after Perfect Chaos and then just happened to give one to Tails between games, that kind of works. It's weird, but
It doesn't track with the way the cutscene explains it, but that's the closest to what it tries to go for.
It smacks of how, like, the first episodes of Dragon Ball Super are, like, Mr. Satan giving people his reward money for defeating Cell, even though that happened, like, 12 years prior to the start of that show.
Yep.
Anyway, regardless of all that, Eggman sends Rouge on a go-kart mission to steal from Tails, and hoo boy!
The same thing, but worse.
It is the same thing, but with inexorably harder design.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the
in
thing
both
is, in
uses
this
of the Wii.
version, you can actually fall off, and there are literally parts of the stage where there isn't guardrail.
Yep.
Well, you know, just a hole in the highway.
So I'd
yeah,
like
average
to.
American highway.
So I'd like to say real quick. I think the first lap ended up taking me 3 tries because I kept running out of fucking time.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that first lap,
Yeah.
I think my successful run, I literally had 1 second remaining on it.
Yeah, my first
Oh.
time doing the first lap, I ran out of time as well.
Yeah, it's like it's super tight.
But,
You
like,
basically
slightly
cannot.
too passive of a line.
You basically can't hit anything, like hit a wall or anything, or you just have to restart.
Interesting. I've never had a problem with time in the go-kart stages.
I didn't have one with Tails. I only had one with Rouge.
Yeah, I only ever had it come up on that first lap of Rouge's
Yeah.
stage.
In her
Yeah.
damn penis car.
Listen, I already said they made the design harder. We didn't need to make the subtext textual.
Look,
So
we
after
gotta
that
get it.
a very
advertisement for a
valid car.
two-player mini-game, Rouge catches up to Tails and then just stops and says, Shadow, you do the rest.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I do like that both in Rouge's kart minigame and afterward, the villains are all, like, bickering to each other over the comms. It's like Sonic and Tails get along great. These people seem to just fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
have you
it's
heard the
great.
way Eggman talks to people?
No, I know.
It makes total sense. You know, actually, I just realized Tails is flying, and the reason that Rouge can't follow him is because he just flies away, and that's why it has to move to Shadow.
Yeah, I
Ah,
guess this is after they
Yeah.
get the President data disk or whatever.
Yeah, after they just casually, like, break into the President's limo and steal from them.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know, as you do.
Yep.
But this leads into another Shadow stage, which it's funny that we're like, oh, the car can't catch the plane, so let's just send the 3-foot hedgehog to catch the plane on foot.
A 3-foot hedgehog who is incredibly fast and can literally teleport.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah.
you can teleport.
Well, and it's all worth it because it leads into a Skyrail, which is a cool level.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool level.
Yeah, this is a pretty great stage, and you wouldn't notice it, but it actually reuses the theme from Pumpkin Hill. But this time it's super bright, and so it doesn't have the same vibe at all. The music is also quite different, but you'll be running around and you're like, oh, look, it's a spooky tree. Okay.
Yeah, still though, it's not as cool.
Well, I mean,
With,
you don't
No,
get the
that
amazing
was-
rap.
Yeah, well, I don't even rap. Just
I-
the aesthetic of it being at night.
Yeah,
I
it's
wasn't
not as
making-
Halloween.
I wasn't making a judgment, but I mean, I do definitely prefer Pumpkin Hill's
It's like when
aesthetic,
you're-
but it's
yeah,
going for
and you
something
have to trick
completely
or treat
different.
before it gets dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. It's very much like that, yeah.
When the music track for this stage is called Mr. Unsmiley, which I think is just one of the greatest names for a level theme.
That
Yeah.
should have been Shadow's real name, honestly.
But I mean, I have a good time with this stage. I mean, it got a lot of grind rails, so what's not to love?
It having a lot of grind reels.
I have no taste.
God.
No, the grind rails have some problems, because, you know, like we said, rail switching can be temperamental in this game.
Well, yeah, but grind rails are still fucking cool.
And there are a
This is
couple
much
points...
more
They're a
forgiving
nice-
than
Element to levels, but I don't like it being that much of the level.
I agree with that. It
Well,
shouldn't be
there's
the
no
point.
accounting for taste.
Well, and there's a couple points in this stage where you'll have a rail that just ends and just sends you flying off if you're not prepared to jump.
That is true.
Yes.
So not a huge fan of that.
Yeah, there's still no accounting for taste.
it's
This
not.
is definitely my least favorite Shadow level.
Really? Even Final Chase?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with that.
Final
I'm gonna have to
Chase.
disagree also.
I
But
think I ended up liking Final Chase more than Skyrail, yeah.
I will
Okay,
explain
interesting.
that later, though, I suppose. See, I talked about how Final Rush is, like, terrible if you don't know how to grind. but it's great if you do. I think this stage is a good compromise, though. I mean, yeah, it's a little
It's
annoying,
not as hard.
but it's not that difficult. So, yeah, maybe you won't enjoy it, I guess. No
It's
time
also
to
a lot
taste.
shorter.
But it's not super unbearably long. Yeah.
I do enjoy the length of the level a lot more than
Yeah.
I do with other levels that I have problems with.
The ironic thing about all of this is that this seems to go absolutely nowhere. Like, we have Shadow chase Tails in Skyrail, but Tails just gets to the Eggman base, and we just have all of the stuff from that part of the game. Where did Shadow go?
He got tired.
I mean, as far as we know, Shadow is just on his way home, and he just has to go through Skyrail on his, like...
Oh,
commute
so they
after
tell
9 to
Shadow to
5.
do that, he chases Tails for a while, and then just gets bored.
Yep. He is the ultimate life form. Why would he listen to anyone once it's no longer, like, interesting for him?
I suppose they're just doing their whole teamwork thing. We're a trio, so we have to share the burden. We can't all work together at the same time because this isn't Team Dark yet in Sonic Heroes. That's not how we operate. So that's why they hand it off to Eggman next later. Well, no,
Well,
actually pretty
it's
soon.
like they switch places, because it starts with Eggman is on the Ark, he orders Rouge to do that, and then Shadow is ordered by Rouge to do that. And then they switch places where now Eggman's at the base, and then the next time we see Rouge or Shadow, they're on the Ark.
I think that basically Rouge and Shadow are just spying and trying to figure out what they're doing. They go back because I assume they probably would also go to the base and return to the Ark with Eggman, but it's Eggman who ends up confronting the team. I think no matter how you slice it, though, I think largely much of the Dark story is not filler, but this part in particular feels fillery plot-wise. So yeah,
Yeah.
Especially the case with the next fight, where, we get our normal cutscene where Eggman sicks the Egg Golem on Sonic and friends, but the cutscene continues further into the fight, where Sonic jumps up and shouts, Tedia!
yeah.
Which is hilariously weird. Don't have Japanese voice directors directing the English dub, that especially when they don't speak English.
I find this hilarious. Sonic just one-shots the boss in the cutscene, no problem. I don't have to have a boss battle. That's how I do it. See ya, losers, later.
It's your boss now. Sonic breaks the control system so it attacks Eggman instead, out of vengeance, I assume.
Eggman does say that Sonic broke the restraining mechanism, so I think it was a guardian of the pyramid originally, and then Eggman took control of it, and so now that it's no longer under his control, it's like, oh, you've defaced all these ancient, drawings.
Yeah, it's
I'm
pissed
gonna
off.
kill you now.
And I like that conceptually. The fight itself is a little mindless, I would say.
Spam the shoot button.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to figure that out, though, I'll admit.
You just you shoot it and you expose its weak points, and then you shoot the weak points.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing too complicated. It's weird to have the same boss, but fought with differently styled characters. That's interesting. I guess I did that with
Flying Dog.
The walkers or whatever. But those almost don't count because it feels like it's literally the same boss. But here, you fight it a little differently.
The quicksand
there's,
at the bottom is an actual threat for Eggman.
Yes. They've
Yeah.
also fixed the quicksand to not being completely pointless.
And I suppose this is another one of those cases where this is a boss that you don't have to wait for it to expose its weak point. You just have to shoot it a lot.
Right.
You're right. So I guess they did that with two bosses. Interesting.
To be honest, anything they could have done would have been preferable to what comes next.
Okay, first of all, there's a cutscene before we get there. Rouge gets Eggman to tell her the password for the Ark, which I'm somewhat surprised that he was just like, yeah, okay, here it is. But I guess he's desperate at this point. And she hasn't given him any reason to distrust her, literally blowing up, her employer's base, which he doesn't know that, but he certainly wouldn't think she's working for them. But so I thought, okay, wow.
Great way to convince someone.
Yeah. So I thought, wow, good going, Rouge. You've done it. You've saved the world. Now you're going to deactivate the Ark's weapon and take the Chaos Emeralds, right? But no. She looks on the screen and she sees, it's the Master Emerald Shards. I'm sure the world will be fine if I go steal those first.
Which, of
Priorities.
course, which of course leads into Mad Space, the biggest treasure hunt level in the game.
Yep.
And most of that is empty space. You know, it's like
Yep.
when we talked about Meteor Herd, at least that's like close to the arc. It's a big cylinder, that level. This is just a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I love this stage. The random meteors are still here, which is a little annoying. But no, this is a super expansive, it's just a trek through space. There you get to go across all these unique little weirdly shaped planetoids with their own gravities.
That don't
And-
work.
Yeah, the gravity's the
It don't
worst
work?
part.
It works fine for me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know how it works fine for you.
The controls
In
what
invert when
way?
you walk on them. They make you walk in circles or glide in circles. Try that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the controls suck ass whenever you're on a planet.
All of the
Half
hints
the time I
are
was-
backwards. They're either written backwards or they tell you the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Wait, that's the
Shouldn't need to
thing?
use the hints
Yeah, which is
anyway.
just dumb. Like, it doesn't
Wait,
even make it
what?
harder. It's just stupid.
Wait, so that's why the hints weren't fucking useful.
Oh, was
Yeah,
your point of
Omochao
reference for
says
that
that.
last
Yeah,
week?
Omo
This
Chow at
stage.
the start of the stage
Turned
will tell you
Omo
this.
Chow.
Well, you
And I
shouldn't
don't
have
talk to him
because the stage is this.
anyway.
But, like, it doesn't make the stage harder doing that. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean, that's my main thought on the stage, is it's just dumb.
I think
Yeah.
the problematic physics aside, if you just pushed all of this stuff together, just reduce the size of the universe a little bit, it wouldn't be that big a deal. It's just the how far everything is apart from each other with the radar that makes it a huge pain.
You're just supposed to explore the
Yeah.
universe. That's the point of the stage.
If I want to
It's the
explore
madness
the
of
universe, I'll
space.
play Outer Wilds again. Or,
Yeah,
or-
I'd
Well, it
or-
sounds like
Hey,
you're not. Then this
pay
isn't your
for it,
cup
not
of tea.
Sonic.
So you should just skip the stage and not even played it. It's not made for
Would've-
you.
Oh
apparently.
yeah, I can just do
Be in
that.
the game in the first place. The stage does not fit the game. The stage should not be here.
This is part of what this game is, though. It's been shown that this game is partially hunting stages. I have said before that it's a questionable choice that, you know, they mashed all the gameplay together. It probably would have been better if you could have just picked them and not required you play them all to get the true story. So, fair enough. I think ideally you would have been able to pick your style. But, I mean, this is exactly what the hunting stages are, and it's excellent for that. So if you don't like it, yeah, you're gonna have a bad time. If you do like it, at least I like it.
I just think it should have been more similar to the stages I do like, which also includes some hunting stages. I don't know.
Just make the stage smaller and make the controls less horrible.
I never really had much problem with the gravity, but if indeed it is as broken as you described, yeah, ideally this game would be more polished. True.
The stage was just too ambitious for the technology level they had access to, and it hurts me.
Lauren, I am revoking your privilege to complain about the gravity in Lost World when we get there. I don't know if you will complain about it, but you won't be allowed to.
Okay, well then I'm excited for that.
You shouldn't be. Anyway, let's cool down and let's skip over the Knuckles boss fight because it's exactly the same in every way. I don't think I have a single thing to say about it.
I still don't know how this fight works.
It doesn't.
I mean, other
Yeah.
than that.
It's jank, I hate it, moving on.
So, Eggman. Eggman decides to do his endgame plan. And so he is moving forward with getting ready to fire the cannon, but he's going to need an emerald, so he's going to need to get there.
They revealed that apparently Eggman was able to detect that there were 2 Chaos Emerald readings, and that's how he's able to make his epic 200 IQ move at the end with Tails, which on the one hand, I guess that makes sense. I kind of liked it better when he was just gambling there, but I mean, maybe it is a bit of a jump to just guess wildly like that. The other thing of note from this setup cutscene is that initially Shadow turns to leave and stop Sonic and Co. And then Eggman is like, no, I have to be the one to stop my greatest enemies in the finale. And then he goes off and does Cosmic Wall.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. And so, Cosmic Wall has one gimmick that I kind of wish they just did it across the whole game for the mechs. you are in space for specifically this stage, I guess, and because of the lower gravity, your jet booster makes you float upwards.
Oh
Which-
my god, it's like it should have already been like that.
It makes for really
great
satisfying platforming.
Yeah, I loved Cosmic Wall.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a fun gimmick. It makes the
was
stage
my
very
favorite outing.
unique.
that was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a little long for me, but I really enjoy it. It's got a bunch of different gimmicks because it's got like so many different targets to shoot. It's got probably I don't know if I'm saying this for certain, but probably the least infuriating implementation of artificial chaos. They're not that bad because they give you space in this level.
I would agree with that.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably the best use of them, but I still hate them.
They're still awful, don't worry.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, so
Uh,
fuck them, but like, they're the least hateable here.
But hey, at least you can lock onto them and blow them up from afar where they can't reach you most of the time.
Most
So-
of the time.
Yeah, most of the time, which is great. Fun fact, this stage has the unique characteristic in the remake of being the only stage to require 6 digits worth of points in order to A rank. You have to get 100,000 points
Jesus.
to A rank this stage because it supports that value of score. It's not easy, but it is
Yeah.
really fun to pull off.
I can imagine. Also, this random giant drill attacks you at the end. Why did they make that? What is that for?
Because
So,
we needed to bring the truck back, but we couldn't put the truck in space, so we made it a drill.
so like, I really don't understand because were you supposed to be shooting at the drill?
It has little mini drills
Yeah.
that it'll push it back if you hit them, but it's really hard to hit it, or at least it feels hard to hit it consistently.
Okay, good. I thought you were supposed to, or at least you can, because I think I hit one.
Yeah, it's tricky, but yeah, you can.
And I do love that, like, as you're coasting down that sequence, it just kind of chunks you off when you hit the end and you miss the drill. And Eggman, like, literally almost face plants. He rotates on his way down before landing.
Yeah.
But yeah, fun stage.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved Cosmic Wall. It's the only time I was in space where I'm like, hey, this is actually good.
Yeah,
And interestingly, the only time it felt that much like space.
that's also true.
Well, that's a
Other than
characteristic
being
of
able
space.
to breathe, but So-
Okay, but I'm sure Eggman would have somehow figured out some way to breathe in space with all the like,
Eggman's just modified his genetic code.
well, again, I think the
Eggman
arc
was
has.
a robot the whole time.
I think the arc has an air pocket. It's fine.
Eggman's actually not even there.
Oh yeah, we're playing as hologram Eggman.
Yeah, it's Hollow Eggman.
Hollow
The-
Man.
The actual Eggman has actually already been in the control room, waiting there with the gun pointed at Amy's head the whole time.
This Eggman's actually Burger Guy from SA1.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah, about that cutscene, the lead in here is actually quite comedic because Amy is just standing around being like, why am I such a plot device? Why do people always leave a sweet, innocent young lady like me all alone? And then Eggman says, can I help you, young lady? And then pulls out a gun.
He's dastardly. He's getting desperate.
Why doesn't Amy have her hammer on her anymore?
That's a good question.
You know, that's an interesting point. I had never thought of that. I assumed she had it, but she never once displays it, so maybe she doesn't.
She
Even
does
when a
have
gun's
it.
pulled on her, she doesn't pull out the hammer.
She does have it in the multiplayer, but she's basically just a skin for Sonic in that.
The other thing in this cutscene is that in the dark version of this, they don't show Sonic getting ready to use Chaos Control in the capsule, so it's left even more like, oh.
And it'll definitely be the last time that anyone could think they killed Sonic.
Yeah, that's why they're
Yeah.
never going to pull another death fake out with Sonic, especially not twice.
Yep.
Definitely.
Never again.
Well, anyway, Tails 2, the boss fight.
Did you beat it
Woo!
super easily, Bruce?
24 seconds, baby.
Again? Seriously?
He did get the giant laser off this time, but I very easily dodged it.
You...
How?
I literally just jumped over it. Or actually, I don't even think I jumped over it. I think I jumped to the
Cannot
side.
jump over it. It's impossible.
I think I jumped to the side or something.
Yeah.
No, I did it.
Well, good job. Yeah, it sure is the same fight with all the same problems.
Yep.
My-
Just as Jenks.
My one comment here is I like that Tails apparently is like in denial because he's like, "What have you done to Sonic at the start of the fight?" Like, you don't know.
So that fight goes down exactly as expected. Although, I guess technically Eggman would have to lose this fight since he is supposed to in the ending, but whatever.
Nah, he's a Chad.
Yeah, we can get to that
Yeah,
when we get to the ending.
He won the
I
fight, but then he
agree.
stepped on the banana food.
I
Getting
think
out of the
I
game.
think he lost.
What's
He must have
important
lost.
is this next cutscene with Rouge and Shadow. So
Oh boy, Shadow's backstory is really starting to get twisty and turny.
Rouge
And
attempts
it'll
to
never get worse.
steal the
Definitely.
emeralds. I assume for herself, not to defeat Eggman.
Definitely
And
for herself.
Shadow
Definitely.
catches her in the act. And there's this really weird moment. I thought it was a mistranslation. It's not a mistranslation, where Shadow says, "You're the government spy, Rouge the Bat. You know who she is? What? A, you're not supposed to know who a spy is ever. And B, why would Shadow have heard of her? I don't get it.
I mean, I just figured it was like he did some research.
Yeah, but
So he's
Her
been
grandma did the
at,
same thing, so he just kind of connected the dots.
Yeah, sure.
he's been at Prison Island a few times. He could have done some research at some point.
maybe. Thankfully, whatever is going on there, Rouge distracts us from it by saying, "Hey, I was here to research the real truth about 50 years ago. The real Project Shadow isn't you! The one we've been following this whole time isn't the real Shadow. The real Shadow was a big-ass lizard with some wires in it."
Yep.
Which is like, don't know how that's supposed to work. You know, as of this game, it's like, how do you go from a big lizard to a 3-foot hedgehog? But Shadow's
That's not
like,
my problem. Mad science is mad science. I just don't get why they had to overcomplicate things here.
I mean,
Well, and
that's a
that's the
good
thing-
question also.
that's the thing that Shadow says, is he says, even if I am fake, these memories are still mine. I'm still gonna do what Maria wanted. Which is like, yeah, what are these Maria memories supposed to mean if you are a fake? What is the deal with that? And the game doesn't have an answer for that because Shadow's not a fake. So it's like, why did you bother?
Well, he might be, but we'll get there.
I didn't know that Blade Runner 2049 stole this game's plot.
Well, I suppose it could also just be that Rouge is trying to gaslight Shadow so she can wreck the
She's
Eclipse.
the face of Gaslight Gatekeep Girl Boss.
Rouge is a girl boss. She is the girl boss of the series. That's true.
Yeah.
What's funny is that at the end of this cutscene, Eggman's like, "Shadow, you need to stop Sonic or whatever." Shadow's like, "Shoot, I gotta go. Don't touch anything." And then he just leaves. Like, so if Rouge wanted to steal the emerald, she could.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
my point. He's literally
Yeah.
like, if you know what's good for you, you won't touch the emeralds, and then he leaves her to do whatever she wants. What the heck? This could have been easily fixed if he just, like, knocked her out or something.
I think framing is a big part of it. I think if the direction showed Shadow as a very intense threat and said, like, if you touch any of this, I'll kill you, and just scares Rouge into not doing it, that would have been fine. But he doesn't do that. He's just like, don't.
Please don't.
It's the implied threat. They went one layer above.
Oh, because of the implication.
Yes, because of the implication.
Because of the implication.
Well, plus the thing is, Rouge has already seen a different side of Shadow when he rescued her, and he was like, "It was just to save the Chaos Emeralds," and she's like, "Psh, yeah, right." So, like, even if he was trying to be threatening, it probably wouldn't have worked anyway.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that.
I'm just saying it doesn't make sense plot-wise, regardless. But yeah, it is made worse because he's not really trying that hard either.
Well, whatever Rouge is left to do, it's time to finally chase Sonic down in Final Chase, the aptly named final stage of this playthrough. And it seems like we've got some diverse opinions on this stage. I do not like it very much. Sid said that it was not that bad.
Is this true?
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
Well, I hated it. What about you, Bruce?
I did not have a good time with it, but I also don't have any notes on it, which either means I mentally blocked it out last night, or I was too tired to remember when I was taking my notes this morning.
So this stage, the whole gimmick is these rotating gravity drums.
Yes, the drums.
Yep.
Okay.
And basically you stand on them and they spin you around, but they spin your center of gravity with them. And that's an interesting idea for 3D gravity platforming. Shame it's not that good. It tends to mess up your controls or your camera or both.
The stage made me so dizzy.
So let me just come out with a few positives firstly, which is just theming as usual. The music is very dark and dreary sounding,
Music is interesting.
which fits perfectly for the tone of this part of the game. Shadow's out to just kill Sonic, basically.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I have no positives. So yeah, those gravity jumps. You guys were talking about the planetoids in Mad Space. No, this is where the broken gravity is in this game. This stage is just pure anxiety. That's what this is. Like,
That's true.
playing it the first time, and then also when I tried to, like, get the hang of this and go for all the A ranks, it never changed. I cannot get the hang of these darn things. No matter what you do, you will fall off. You can't do anything about it. It's made even worse by the ones you have to ascend and then go on to the top of them. They didn't test out that functionality, because when you get to the top, Shadow's like, guess I'm just gonna free fall for a second. Are you gonna get to the top, or are you just gonna fall off the side and die? I don't know. Why don't you find out? That's the worst part of these, when they make you do that. But on top of that, some sadist decided how to place the artificial chaos in this level, because they are optimally placed to snipe you when you're at your most vulnerable.
And you
Which
have to
is-
do homing attack chains with some of them.
And you have to
Yeah.
homing attack chain them without getting hit by their arm or their laser, or just hit their fat, because you can do that with some of them. So they will hit you off, and then you will fall to your death and burn a fiery death. The one saving
Which,
grace,
to be honest, pretty good way to die.
true.
Like in terms of character like ways you die on a level, it's one of my favorite ones to have happen because it's just fun to watch them just basically turn into a meteor and burn up in space.
Yeah.
The one saving grace is, I'm not sure this is intentional though. If you take damage in midair, you gain an extra jump, so you have a chance to save yourself. It's a slim chance, but that really does not make it much better. And there is more to this stage. There are a few grind rails, but not that many, so that doesn't really save it. But it's mostly just those gravity barrels. That pretty much sums it up. At the very end of the stage, somebody had the great idea, hey, let's place a huge cylinder, but let's have you start at the top and you go down, and the camera will be angled up so you can see your character, but not where your character is going. So you just have to hope that you're not about to run into something and get yourself killed. Have fun with that. And you're just so close to the end, and it feels horrible when you screw it up and you have to redo everything as you're trying to 100% the game like an idiot.
So I take it you didn't have that much fun with this level.
No, it's horrible.
Yeah, I think you hit it mostly on the head. I'm trying to think, what could be used to save this mechanic? And it's like, the only thing I can think of is, A, make the camera not dog shit, which is a pretty tall task, but it's like that, and maybe add some sort of visual indicator to exactly when you are and aren't in the gravity field. Because I think that's the biggest culprit, is that it's unreliable.
Yeah.
You don't know whether you're touching it or not.
Yeah, I didn't have many issues with the stage, but I'm not about to come to the stage's defense.
Yeah. Well, in any case, we're done with it. We've survived. It'll be okay. And we finish off the build-up to the final boss with exactly the same cutscene as in the hero playthrough. Do they use different camera angles at all in this one?
I don't
think so.
I wouldn't know. I skipped it.
Well, you didn't miss anything, at least. Yeah, so the Sonic fight, again, is exactly the same. I know that Bruce had an easier time because I was there telling him how to fight it.
Yes. Oh my god, it was so much easier.
Yeah, that's pretty much my only note on the fight is, wow, it's so much easier because I had to fight Shadow with Sonic first.
Right, you already knew how it worked.
Which, again, means
Well,
that I don't think
specifically
there's...
point out Chicken versus Mike, but yeah.
Wait, Shadow was... What chicken specifically?
Hey.
A chicken.
Just a chicken?
It might have been the
Oh.
chicken from CSGO, but just a chicken.
Okay.
I was very confused what you were talking about for a second.
Yeah, no, I specifically Chicken versus Mike fight felt more doable with previous knowledge.
Yeah, well,
Fair
who
enough.
am I to deny
Yeah,
your
fair
notes?
enough.
Strangely, and I don't really know why, I had more trouble this time, although I've had an idea of exactly how the fight went both times. But
Huh.
I swear it did
It's
not
probably
do
just the game's
this.
random jankiness.
It probably is. I swear it
Yeah,
didn't do
probably.
this in the Shadow version, but for some reason, every single time Sonic used Sonic Wind, the game decided, you're stopping now, you're not moving,
I
and it
think
brought me
that
to a
happened to me.
halt. And then Sonic was like, okay, time to snipe you. So you have to homing attack super fast, even if you're running beforehand, because the game will just stop you. And I feel like I didn't have to do that before. I could be totally wrong, but threw me off for some reason.
I always charge up a spin dash to release once they attack, so I don't know what it is like normally.
Yeah,
I
I was
think for-
dashing heavily in the fights too, so I
I
didn't really
think for me,
notice, but it would not surprise me.
I jumped, I think, and air dashed.
Yeah, that's what I had to do.
Okay, so maybe that is the case. But yeah, much quicker to go through. And I guess much quicker to go through our playthrough. We're an hour behind where we were last time on the recording. But we finish up. We get the last cutscene, and it's different. Eggman does get to the chamber with the Eclipse Cannon, and I don't know what happens here. You know, we mentioned that the cannon explodes in the hero playthrough. I cut it out of the episode, us arguing about it. But in the Dark Story, Eggman activates the Eclipse Cannon and gets a warning signal, and then the credits roll. So I don't know if he put the yellow emerald that he took, I don't know if he put that in there, or if it has the fake Chaos Emerald in there.
In my opinion, this works fine with the hero story. The way I see it, well, we're going to have to get to the last story for the last puzzle piece here. But my theory is that, no, Eggman wouldn't put in the fake emerald, and Eggman took it from when Tails beat him. So it must be the real emerald. Now, the fake emerald must have been put in there beforehand, and so why isn't it there now? Tails specifically says it was designed to blow up, so it must have already been used and then was destroyed. So then Eggman chucks in the true emerald, and then my thought is that it doesn't work, as we'll see, because the cannon's been destroyed.
I guess. The cannon is not destroyed in future games, is the only reason that I think it would make more sense if maybe Sonic just lost that fight and Eggman tried to use it, but then it did the other thing that it does instead. I don't know. We're gonna see how it turns out next time, but for right now, we just finished the Dark playthrough, and wow, that went way smoother than the Hero playthrough.
In what regard?
Recording, and also it feels like the stages, in some ways, were less annoying than some of the Hero stages. Some of them were worse. I don't know. I think the Dark and Hero playthrough. I like the Hero playthrough. I think the Dark playthrough is as good for the most part, maybe better in some ways.
I honestly think the Dark playthrough is quite a bit better.
I enjoy it considerably more, but that was always going to be the case.
Fair enough.
I don't know. You would have to do some deeper assessment to say conclusively, which I thought was better, but it just feels... I wouldn't say it's particularly superior. They offer different things. There's a different balance between the gameplay types, for one thing, and they're literally different lengths, too.
They do offer different things. One has Radical Highway and the other doesn't.
I think
Plus,
they do...
we're playing it in this order, so who's to say how it would have felt playing it in the other order?
Yeah, I think they do a good job at developing... Shadow and Rouge are both very two-dimensional in the hero story, and seeing it from their perspective definitely fleshes them out better.
Okay, I will say plot-wise, I enjoyed the Dark story way more.
Yeah.
But
Following
I'm
Eggman
biased
is
with
just a
Eggman,
recipe for
yes,
success.
As the protagonist. I can't believe it. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're not going to waste any time then, because that is it for the Dark Story, but this game is not yet over, because next time on Deep Dive Zone, we are going to be looking at the final story of Sonic Adventure 2, and we have these... Whenever you clear a story in this game, you get these, like, preview videos for the next one. I'm not really sure why, but the one for the final story is so melodramatic. It has all of this text flashing on screen, all of these dramatic voiceovers with the piano playing. I honestly kind of love that they went for that.
It's the edgy anime, like, final episode trailer.
Yeah, it is. The next episode preview.
Which I guess this is the final climactic episode.
Certainly. But that is going to be happening next time. For right now, that is going to be it. Thank you all so much for listening. I think we're not going to get as many threats as we did last week. Side note, I have no idea if we've actually received any threats yet.
Do it,
But-
losers. I dare you.
If you like this episode, feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, criticism, or feedback, you can reach us at any of the resources shown on screen. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you next Sunday for the final story. Have a great night, and take care.